Well, happy Tuesday and welcome to VA Careers Live. My name is Mike Owens, and I'm a national recruiter with the Veterans Health Administration, as well as your host for our weekly segment, Talk About It Tuesday. If you're tuning in for the first time, I want to let you know that we are here every Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Time. So feel free to grab a snack and grab something to drink and join us as we talk about careers here at VA. Now, again, whether you're tuning in for the first time today or you've been with us for the last 3 years, we want you to be part of the conversation. So don't be shy. Don't feel like you have to stay silent. We appreciate all the feedback, questions, and comments that you guys put in our comment section. So again, don't be shy. Feel free to leave any comments and questions in the comment section, and our team will be sure to go through the make sure to go out. I'm sorry, our team will be sure to go through those questions and comments throughout the day and throughout the week to make sure that all your comments are addressed and all your questions are answered. And with that being said, we all want you to share the broadcast. We all know someone that wants to work here at VA, so we want to make sure this information gets out to as many people as possible. So feel free to hit that share button. We have two hashtags that are associated with this broadcast. One is hashtag work at VA. Again, hashtag work at VA. And the other is hashtag VA careers. So use both of those hashtags, click that share button. And again, let's get this information out to as many people as possible. So with that being said, again, happy Tuesday and thank you for joining us. Now, we all know that we're less than a week away from Christmas. So I should have worn my Santa hat today. I thought about it, but I said, nah, I wouldn't do it. But we're less than a week away from Christmas. So our question of the day will center around that. So my question of the day is, if you can think about throughout your whole life and every Christmas that you've had since you've been alive, what would you say was your favorite Christmas present ever? So if you can think back, maybe it was something that you got recently. Maybe it was something that you got back in your teen years or your childhood days. But if you can think of one Christmas present that was like your favorite ever throughout your whole lifetime, go ahead and put that in the comment section. And I'm looking forward to hearing that. So with that being said, today we're going to mirror our episode around Christmas. You all have heard the famous song, The 12 Days of Christmas. So what I wanted to do today is kind of give you the 12 tips to talk about it Tuesday. So basically, I'll just go over 12 job search tips that can help you in your job search. So they're not in any particular order. So not one is important than the other. I just kind of put this list together, and I hope that it can help you all. So tune in, and again, here's our 12 days, our 12 tips of Talk About It Tuesday's job search. All right. So the first tip is identify your career goals. All right. So if you're getting ready to, if you're in the part of your life, or you're in a situation where you're ready to do either a new job hunt, or you just graduated school and you want to kind of get in the career world now, make sure you put a plan together. Figure out what jobs do you want, which jobs don't you want, and once you put that plan together, go ahead and that allow you to kind of put your application together, making sure that you put everything that's related to the career field that you want to go into. So if you're going into the career field of engineering and you have an engineering degree, make sure you highlight your education in your application package. Also, make sure that you any kind of awards that you won throughout your schooling, or maybe any awards you won through previous engineering jobs, and you want to make sure that's highlighted when you apply for your engineering job here at VA. Make sure everything that can be used to prepare you toward the front of the line is put into your resume or your application package. The one thing we always say is, when you're trying to get a job here at VA and you're competing against hundreds of other applicants, you don't want to be modest. Now, it's not saying, you some of us, we have a hard time talking about ourselves. Some of us don't, but it's during the application process, it's not a time to be modest. Go ahead and highlight everything that you've done to help you get ahead in the application process. All right. So our next tip, we're here doing the 12 tips to Talk About It Tuesday for job searching. The next tip is make sure that your resume, your cover letter, and your LinkedIn profile is updated. So again, you never, ever, ever want to submit an application or resume or a cover letter that's basically that out of date. Make sure that your contact information is up to date. Make sure that all the jobs that you had that's relevant to the position that you're applying for is in there. Make sure that you constantly update your resume. So if you've been on a job for the last 5 years, don't just don't put just the stuff that you did your first year. You know, we all know that once we get into a position, once we get into a job, that job evolves, especially the longer we stay in that position. You may start off with maybe a few job duties, and then as you continue into that job year after year after year, guess what? You get more added duties, you get different requirements added to it, and you want to make sure that everything you've done throughout the span of that job is inside your resume. So again, don't just update your resume the first year that you have your current job or any job that you have. Make sure that you constantly update your resume. Every time a new duty gets added to you, make sure that's added inside your resume. Also, cover letter. I always say most of your jobs here at VA won't require you to submit a cover letter. But with that being said, I will always say have a cover letter. Make sure your cover letter is updated. Don't turn in a cover letter just because it's a James saying you're applying for 5 jobs that have the same job title. Make sure that your cover letter specifically states your qualifications based on the position that you're applying for at that moment, not for the position you applied for maybe 2 jobs ago. So again, make sure your cover letter is updated. And also, realistically, some hiring managers here at VA look at your LinkedIn profile. They look up your name, they look at your LinkedIn profile, and I won't say how much weight is added to that, but make sure that your LinkedIn profile is updated and looks professional. All right. So, my next tip for 12 tips to talk about it Tuesday regarding the job search is read the whole job announcement before applying. I know a lot of times we get stuck on job titles and we feel, okay, if I've held this job title in the past, then if I see this job title on USA Jobs with the VA, then that means I'm automatically qualified. That's not the case, because again, you can see 5 job announcements on USA Jobs that all have the same job title. And guess what? Those 5 positions are looking for 5 different types of candidates. So again, make sure you read the job title and make sure that you're qualified for that job, and make sure that you can do what the hiring manager is asking. Don't just get fixated on the job and on the job title, because again, you can see 5 positions on USA Jobs that have the same job title, and they're looking for 5 different candidates. So again, make sure that you make sure that you read the whole job announcement before applying. All right. So here's another one, and this is an important one. My next tip for 12 tips to talk about it Tuesday regarding the job search is apply to jobs even if you do not meet all of the qualifications. Again, you heard it right. Apply to jobs even if you do not meet all of the qualifications. And what I mean by that is every hiring manager has a list of requirements that they want the perfect candidate to have. It's just realistic. We have 10 qualifications down there, but we know as a hiring manager here at VA that most candidates won't meet all 10 of those qualifications. So if you meet most of them, let's say you meet 7 out of the 10, even if you meet 6 out of the 10, you don't have to meet all of the qualifications to be considered the perfect candidate, because as hiring managers, we know that yes, this is the list of qualifications that we would like the perfect candidate to have, but we know that most candidates won't meet all 10. We know there's no perfect candidate that's going to meet all 10 of those qualifications. So with that being said, if you meet most of the qualifications, even if you don't meet all, don't be afraid to apply for that job. So again, this tip is still apply for the job, even if you don't meet all of the qualifications. Now, with that being said, you want to meet at least most of them. If there's 10 qualifications, you want to at least meet half or a little bit more than half. But don't feel like if you don't meet like 2 out of the 10, that okay, I'm not the perfect candidate, I want to apply. You never know. Just if you know that you can do the job, even if you don't meet all 10 of the qualifications or however many qualifications out there, don't be afraid to apply for that job. All right. So my next tip for the 12 tips to talk about it Tuesday regarding job search is the next one is prepare for your interviews. Again, I know a lot of times because the USA job search, because the timeline is we're so focused on just getting out of USA Jobs into the stack of applicants that were referred to the hiring manager. I know we spend a lot of time doing that because a lot of us we submitted 25, 30, 40, sometimes 100 applications before we even get called for an interview. But when you finally get called for that interview here at VA, be prepared for the interview. Understand? Make sure you be prepared for the interview. Make sure that you go online and Google those performance-based interview questions. Read over those questions, write notes. Make sure that you can don't memorize the answers, but make sure that you can accurately the questions in a natural way. Do mock interviews. Have some of your relatives or some of your friends ask you questions and take turns and answer those questions with your family and friends, so you can practice your answers, and also they can give you some type of feedback that you may not give yourself. But again, make sure you be prepared for the interview. There are a lot of performance-based interview questions that are on the internet these days. You can go and search those. We even have some on the VA website. You can go ahead and search those and practice answering those questions. Now, which questions will the interview panel ask? I can't tell you that. I don't know. Each interview panel is unique. They select their own set of questions. But if you study all of the performance-based interview questions that you see online and you answer all those questions and you take notes and you have notes there, you'll be able to answer those questions in a breeze when you actually get an interview. With that being said, make sure you have notes during your interview. There's nothing that says that you have to sit there with a blank sheet of paper with nothing in front of you while you're having an interview. I know when I interviewed for positions here at VA, whether they were phone interviews, and especially these days, a lot of interviews are going to be either phone interviews or maybe Microsoft Teams interviews where you're virtual, where you're not sitting directly in front of the person that you're interviewing with. You can have notes. There's been plenty of times where I've interviewed for federal jobs here at the VA, and I've had all my notes spread out on my table right in front of me as I was interviewing. And no hiring manager is going to get upset because you have to refer to notes to answer questions. Guess what? Sometimes that shows that you're prepared. That shows that you took the time to do the research. You took the time to rehearse and think about the performance-based interview questions, and you're able to answer those questions effectively. But also with the interview, make sure that you answer the questions that are being asked. A lot of times, and I know me, I'm very long-winded. You can ask me a question, I can take you all the way around the world and give you a lot of great tips, a lot of great things that I've done, but make sure that you answer the question, all right? Make sure that you answer the question. You can give me all the other background information about the answer, but just make sure you answer the question, all right? No matter how long it takes you to answer it, make sure that you answer the question, because you'll never believe how many applicants fail the interview process because they were asked a question by the interview panel and they gave they gave a lot of great information with their answer, but they did not answer the question that was asked. So no matter how long it takes you to answer the question, make sure that you answer the question that's being asked by the interview panel. All right. So the next tip on our 12 tips to talk about Tuesday regarding job search is consider volunteering. All right. Every VA facility has a voluntary service. All right. Any of your main VA medical centers, not the clinics, but the actual medical centers, most of them have a voluntary service department. And what that voluntary service department does is that they receive applications from anyone that wants to volunteer as a volunteer at one of the VA medical centers. What that office will do is that they'll onboard you. It's almost like onboarding like a regular VA employee. You go through the fingerprint process, you go through the background check process, and once you've cleared all of that, you go through a volunteer orientation, which means they're going to give you the ins and out of how to be a volunteer, the ins and out of the VA, and sometimes in the ins and out of the department that you're going to volunteer in. Once you're onboarded, then you're going to be placed in a department, and you're going to be able to volunteer. That volunteer opportunity could be 1 day a week. It could be 2 days a week, 3 days a week, and it'll work around your schedule as long as it's during normal operations hours at that VA medical center. So again, consider volunteering. Most of your VA medical centers, your main medical centers, have a voluntary service. And if you feel like you need to go in and do that, that'd be a great way to network and get to know people around the medical facility, the VA medical facility that you want to work for. All right. So our next tip in the 12 tips to talk about Tuesday regarding job searches is consider foot in the door positions. All right. So I know a lot of times we have a certain level of experience. We have a certain level of years in the workforce, and we feel like, okay, I want to come in as a GS 11. I want to come in as a GS 12, a GS 13. And that's what I want because I have so many years of experience and I know that's the position that I deserve. And I'm not going to be the one to tell you that you don't deserve those pay grades, because you know your work experience, you know what you've done in the past, and you very well may be eligible and may deserve a GS 11, 12, or 13 position. But sometimes those positions don't come as easy. So you can do what I did. You know, I had experience in the government sector before I came to VA. But guess what? I came in as a GS5. I had experience all the way up to GS11. But I came in as a GS5 and I worked my way up through the ladder. So I took a foot in the door position because I figured, you know what, instead of meeting dead ends with GS11 positions, GS12 positions, I'm going to kind of humble myself and I'm going to apply for a foot in the door position. And I did. I applied for an entry level foot in the door position, and I was able to move myself back up the ladder. So again, I know people have different life situations going on, and you may be like, well, Mike, I can't afford to take a lower level foot in the door position, and I definitely understand. So remember, when I give this advice, I understand that you all have so many different types of situations going on, and I understand that, you know, based on some things that may be going on in your life, you can't do what others have done, and so I understand that. But at the same time, if you can, uh, and you're running into dead ends trying to find these higher level jobs, take that foot in the door position, that entry level foot in the door position. Or some of your foot in the door positions aren't entry level. Maybe they're just one step lower than if you've been applying for GS11 jobs. Maybe your foot in the door position is that GS9 position. But don't be opposed to taking a foot in the door position just to kind of get your foot in the door. And then once you're in, you can kind of maneuver around and get to where you want to be. All right. So, my next tip in our 12 tips to talk about Tuesday regarding job searching is make networking something you do every day. All right. So you want to network, make sure that networking should be no matter where you go, you should always network. You never know who you're going to cross paths with. You never know who, when you walk past someone, you tell that person hello and shake hands. You never know how that person will impact your life in the future. Networking is not always going to networking events. It's talking to people in public. You know, if you work at a medical facility or you work at a job, it's just going around talking to people. Sometimes it's not just about networking. Isn't always about talking about future position or future job opportunities. A lot of times it's just saying hello and having just natural everyday conversations about family, friends, and just things that are going on around the world. But if you're really nice and kind to that person, you never know how that person can help your job search, in the future. And I'll use an example for me. Most of you know that I served in two branches of the military. I did my first 12 years in the uh, Army, and then I did my final 8.5 years in the Air Force. And when I was approaching around my 11th year in the Army, I met a guy. I met a guy at a martial arts school. Nothing, just a regular parent bringing his kid to martial arts schools, and we were talking. And lo and behold, did I know that this man was the senior enlisted advisor for the Air Force unit that was in the city. And so, long story short, this is the same guy a year later that helped me transition from the Army into the Air Force. And this was just a chance encounter at a martial arts school. Never talked about work, never did anything, but I just happened to find out that he was the senior enlisted advisor. And from conversations with me, he realized, okay, I would like to have this guy in my unit. And guess what? He helped me join the Air Force a year later. So again, networking should always be on your radar, no matter where you're at and what you're doing. All right. So the next thing is make sure you research the VA. If you want to work here for the VA, make sure you research the VA. Make sure you know the VA's mission. Make sure you know the history about the VA. If you're trying to work at a specific VA medical center in your area, make sure you research the history on that VA medical center. The more information you know about the work environment that you're trying to join, the better your interview is going to go. You may get asked questions about the VA in your interview, you may not, but you should always be more prepared than less prepared. So again, with that, if you're trying to work here at VA, make sure you know the history about the VA, make sure you know the mission of the VA, make sure that you understand what we're here for. And secondly, if you're trying to work at a VA medical center in your area or a VA medical center outside your area, no matter where you're applying for, make sure that you know something about that VA facility or that program office. All right. The next tip in our 12 tips of Talk About It Tuesday regarding job searching is don't lie. Be honest. All right. Because you never ever want to say something in the interview, get the job, and now you have to admit that you lied about that on your interview or you lied about it on your resume. All right. Again, always be truthful, never lie. If I know a lot of times we say tailor your resume to the job that you're applying for. When you're tailoring your resume and your cover letter, make sure everything in your cover letter and resume is factual. Make sure there's things that you've actually done. Don't fabricate anything because you never ever want to be caught in a lie. So just make sure that everything in your application process is stuff that you've done and stuff that you earned and not stuff that you fabricated. All right. So with that being said, our next tip of 12 tips to talk about it Tuesday regarding job search is when you're interviewing or in your application process, whether it's on your resume, whether it's on your cover letter, or during the interview process, do not talk bad about your previous employers. All right. Don't bring any type of negativity into that. And I understand. You may have had some bad experiences at your previous employers, but you never ever want to come off to the hiring manager as someone who's a complainer. And I understand we've all had jobs where we had some bad experiences, but I want you to always think of when you're interviewing for another job, always think about the positive, the bright side of having those positions, even if you had a lot of bad experiences. But please don't talk badly about your employer at any point of the application process. And my last tip for 12 tips of Talk About It Tuesday regarding the job search is do well at your current job. Understand? Because you have to realize that if you're getting selected for a position here at the VA, your hiring manager is going to call some of your references. And most likely, one of those references is going to be your boss at your current job, if you currently hold the position. And your future boss is going to want to talk to your current boss. And so you have to do well at your job, because I've seen people get all the way through the application process. They get referred through USA Jobs. They get to the hiring manager. The interview panel selects them for interview, and they finally get selected for position. Well, no, right before they get selected for the position, the HR office or the hiring manager, they contact your references, and that references is one of your current bosses, and I've seen people miss out on a job because they did not do well at their current job. So if you're currently in the search for a new job, whether you're trying to come into the VA from a different agency or maybe the private sector, or maybe you are a current VA employee that's looking for your next position within the VA, make sure if you are working, or no matter what job that you're doing right now, make sure that you're doing a great job in the position that you're currently doing, because first of all, you want to have good work ethic. That's the first thing. And secondly, you don't want to lose out on your perfect VA job because your future hiring manager talked to your current boss and they didn't get any good reviews from you. So with that being said, if you tuned in the middle of the episode today, we were kind of mocking the 12 days of Christmas songs. So we did the 12 tips of Talk About It Tuesday. When it comes to job searching, as you know, we'll always have this episode on our LinkedIn page or on our social media pages. So if you didn't get to see the broadcast in its entirety, you can always come back and watch the whole broadcast when you get some extra time. We also had a question of the day. The question of the day was centered around Christmas. And the question is, throughout your lifetime, what was your favorite Christmas gift that you've ever received throughout your lifetime? That could have been something that you received in one of the recent Christmases, or it could be something that you received on Christmas when you're a young lad or a young kid. So with that being said, I think I have a question or two that I can go ahead and answer. Let's see, what do I have? Let's see, what do I have? All right. I'm sorry, I'm just scrolling through the question, see if I have something. So it looks like that I have a question from Steve. Steve, thank you for submitting your question. Steve is saying when you're talking all of your certifications, anything that's minuscule, CPR license and stuff like that. Yes. So yes, if you have any type of licenses and certifications that you've earned, whether it's a CPR certification or what other certification, especially if those certifications allows you to be put, especially if those certifications are relevant to the job that you're applying for. Yes. Sometimes you want to put some certifications that may not be relevant, but just don't make it a bunch of fluff. Um, but yeah, any type of skills or certifications like CPR, any type of licenses that you have that you feel that can help you in that job search. Yes, I would definitely put those certifications in there. I would definitely put CPR. Even though you may not be applying for a job that's applying for a position at VA that gives medical support. If you have a CPR certification, you're trying to work at a VA medical center. Guess what? That CPR certification license can show that, okay, if you're walking through the hospital and you see one of your fellow coworkers or a veteran pass out that needs CPR, guess what? You may be the first person to have to apply that CPR. Now, obviously, you would call medical professionals, but you may have to briefly be the first person to tend to that veteran or that coworker. So yes, go ahead and put those certifications inside of your resume. All right. So it looks like Jennifer is asking, how do you handle if the boss from your previous employment no longer works with the company or the company is no longer in business? So if that's the case, there's a couple of things that's going to happen. Either you still have even though that boss may not work or that company may not exist no more, if you still have the contact information for someone that served with you at that job, or someone that was your boss at that company, even though they don't work there no more, they can still give good feedback about you. So if you still have the contact information for one of your old bosses or someone that worked with you at that company and that no longer exists, you can add that, or you can simply tell the hiring manager that company no longer exists. You're not going to get dinged because you work for a company that doesn't exist anymore. If I think you're a good candidate, I'm not going to not hire you because you can't give me a reference from a job for a company that's not there anymore. But I will ask for maybe another reference, a professional reference that you have. I know we all have a lot of professional references that are out there, so I'll just ask you for another professional reference that can talk about maybe a little bit about your work ethic, maybe at another position. But yes, you won't get dinged if you're asked for your a boss from a company that doesn't exist anymore and you can't provide that information because that company doesn't exist or that boss doesn't work at that company anymore. All right. So Jennifer. Thank you for that question. All right. Let's see. Um, it looks like that's all of the questions that I have for today. So with that being said, I thank you guys for watching Talk About It Tuesday. We know that this is we're less than a week out from Christmas, so I want to take this time to wish everyone a happy holidays. I hope that you all have time to spend with your family and loved ones. I hope that you all are taking this time to reflect on your year and your future. And I just hope that you all have a great holiday. Hope that you all eat well and that you just take this time and celebrate yourself and celebrate your accomplishments. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in to Talk About It Tuesday on this Tuesday, December 19th. And I hope that you all have a great day and we'll see you next time.